Ciao. Thank you for inviting me to your conference, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Let's see if we can manage, with the help of technology, to give you the message that the conference arrangers wanted me to give you. I'm Graciela Sbertoli, and I work at Vox, the Norwegian Agency for Lifelong Learning, which is a governmental agency working with the vision of creating the possibility for adults to be in an inclusive society and work life. And we do it by contributing both to active citizenship, to employability, and furthering the possibilities for participation in adult education for all adults. Our fields of work are here. We work both with the knowledge base, with basic skills for adults, because it's the entrance to learning, and research and analysis. We have some national programs. Validation and career guidance are an important part of this whole. We do a lot of awareness raising and information work, and of course, cooperate internationally. In Norwegian adult learning, the three angles of the triangle that I have drawn here are very important. We think that it is important to work both for the sake of the individual, for the sake of society, and for the sake of employability and the economy, and that one doesn't exclude the other. They all three work together for employability, inclusion, access to further learning, and general welfare. Defining the issue of literacy is not easy. We could use weeks for that. But I think that it is important to say that all these concepts very often have to go together, but one needs to identify the different phases. For instance, literacy is not the same thing as alphabetism. Alphabetization is the initial part, is the breaking the code of literacy. And then you need to really develop the skill so that you become literate in the sense that you can read and write well, but then functional literacy is much more than that. It is getting to the point where you really read so automatically that there is mental capacity in you to, while you're reading, understand, critically analyze what you're reading, and remember it afterwards. And many, many adults who are not aware that they have problems with literacy have not reached this level of functional literacy, and that is a challenge for us as education policy makers. So there is the initial literacy and there's the functional literacy. There is strictly literacy, reading and writing. Reading and writing in digital environments involves digital competence. There is numeric literacy and financial literacy. There are a number of concepts now that are called multiple literacy. And in the context of the European Union, we talk about this baseline literacy, the initial process of acquiring literacy, but then it needs to go to functional literacy level. And there is the expansion to the sides in multiple literacies involving also digital competence. Now, the problem with these issues, these challenges, is that the goal we want to reach keeps moving. There's a moving target because the level of literacy that can be considered functional depends, for instance, on the level of digital development of the workplace. The level of literacy that you need today to function in society does involve digital competence more and more. And that means that people who had a satisfactory level of literacy now need to add to it. So not only do we have the problem, the challenge with the target group that doesn't even have baseline literacy, we need to continue add on to the other groups. We also have this multiplication of literacies, the fact that digital competence is now really part of the whole panorama. We have the demographic changes also connected to digital literacy, for instance, the fact that older workers don't have functional literacy in the sense that the digital competence component is missing. We have the demographic changes involving the immigration, and that is really a current problem nowadays. We need to look at adult learning and adult literacy in the context of the whole continuum of literacy, and to realize that unless parents have a functional level of literacy, there's going to be a problem with the children acquiring their literacy. And on the other hand, there's the positive effect that it's a powerful motivator for the parents to increase their literacy when they realize they can help their children with their own learning. The problem of literacy and language learning, that issue is extremely relevant to this immigrant wave that we are facing in Europe, because very often the two concepts get mixed up. We are talking about people not being literate in French or in Italian or in Spanish. Well, they are either literate or not. They may have another alphabet, which involves training, but for you and me to learn a new alphabet doesn't mean that we suddenly have to become literate all over again. And it's not the case for the immigrants either. If they are literate, they are. They may have to increase their level, they may have to learn a new alphabet, and there is the language problem. But of course, the issue is much more challenging when we have people who are not literate in their own mother tongue, and now we try to alphabetize them in a language which is not their own. So we do have a lot of issues and challenges in Europe, which we have been trying to pretend don't exist. Who is an analphabet? Do we need specialized teachers? It's a rhetoric question. Yes, we do. And we are not developing all the specialization in teachers that we need for them to be able to face an analphabet adult, or an adult who needs to learn a new alphabet, or the combination of language and literacy. And we are putting this issue in the hands of volunteers very often. And the volunteers are very, very valuable to support the process, to create the possibility for the adults to exercise and train what they have learned. But specialized teachers are a must, and we still don't have them. So it's a problem that is not only for immigrants. PIAC has shown that a large part of the population that has gone through schooling in the country, they may not be originally from the country, but they are so integrated that they went to school as children in the country, they have problems with functional literacy. So we had started to work with this when the great wave of the immigrants came, and basic skills for integration are extremely important, but we need to keep both issues at the same time in the policy focus. Now, for integration, we need to be able to have good diagnostic tests, not only about what is the previous knowledge in literacy, but for language also, how quickly are they going to be able to progress. We need to address both language and literacy, as I said, in synergy with each other, but identifying the two different problems as two different issues. Is it possible to alphabetize in the mother tongue? Normally, we hear from experts, well, you don't know, we have 60 different mother tongue speakers here. We cannot possibly alphabetize them in their own language. Well, for one thing is that if you can't, you should at least do, and this is done in Norway, try to involve speakers of their mother tongue as supporters of the literacy process and the language process. And also, I wonder if we shouldn't be a little bit more innovative and aggressive about using digital tools so that, for instance, Somali people can learn to read and write in Somali through programs that could be in a computer, and then the teacher could just be an assistant. That's a large challenge, but something I would really like to see developing. We need to start using the digital tools from day one. It's not possible any longer to say that we need to teach reading and writing, and then once they are literate, they can advance to digital competence. Many analphabet adults are actually using a mobile phone. So mobile apps should be part of the training, and it needs to be made relevant from the very start. We are now piloting some approaches in Norway for people trying to learn Norwegian, and we put them at work immediately. They go to training, but they also go to work, and they can develop language and literacy at the workplace. It is important that formal and informal go together, that there is training with a teacher in a classroom, if that is how it's organized, but that all sorts of informal situations where they can develop the skills are created. And it needs to be balanced, both for policy and practice, so that all elements are part of the whole. Now, I told you I work at Vox. I'm also addressing you as the chair of the European Basic Skills Network, which is a policy network involving many European countries. And we do want to work with national policy, but also with regional implementation. So regional authorities are very welcome to join us. This is how we work mostly now, is with special interest groups that will develop communities of practice in Nepal. And there is one coming up on basic skills for integration. So this is just an announcement for you. If you want to develop these ideas, ask any questions, these are my coordinates. Grazie tante.